Hello, good afternoon. Are you a member?
They both hard. I ain't gonna lie. The funny thing is, this was one of my bop. The ones that I like was the ones that was going against each other.
Just do it, right?
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm over here bopping to two people who's ops. Like, that's fucked up. They probably looking at us like she don't know what side she want to be on.
Medz versus Kman 6ixx.
Many people have heard the song Just Do It by Medz and enjoy it as a hit song or club banger. But behind the success and the 14 million views in just 3 months, there are hundreds of people whose lives met their end. Because this is not just a hit song, it's none other than one of the most diabolical diss tracks Trinidad has ever had. Not only aiming shots at fellow Trini artist Kman 6ixx, but also dancing on the graves of many individuals who brutally met their end over a conflict so insane that you'd have to wonder how any of these artists are even still alive. But to understand what makes this song so insane, you first need to understand one thing. Trinidad music is very different from dancehall or even rap. These tracks are almost never just about who's the better artist or who's the most lyrical. When people diss each other in Trinidad, if you turn on the news the next day, there is a very strong possibility that you will see those very same individuals, either because they ended somebody or they themselves were just ended. This is because behind almost every artist is a gang, and majority of the gang related beef in the country is because there are two main gang factions who hate each other more than poison itself: 6 and 7. No pun intended. And you'd be shocked to know the reason they hate each other isn't even over anything as direct as them just being enemies. This war started because, like any real people who truly hate each other, they were once friends. In fact, they were once under the same gang itself, a group called Rasta City. You see, for years, Rasta City stood as one, and the main enemy was actually a completely different group called the Muslims. A battle that would shake Trinidad's underworld for years. But then something happened that would change everything. A serious internal falling out between the higher-ups of Rasta City would cause the gang to split clean down the middle, causing a sort of civil war. And of course, when this happens, lifelong friends feel deep enough betrayal to become sworn enemies. And so after
That shit throw me off. Like, show me straight raw cuts of the people. Like, you doing all this cartoon
It's
shit.
because he said the Civil War.
No, he doing too much.
It's
Niggas
because he said
splitting the
Civil
wood.
War.
split, one side rebranded to
This
7
shit.
and the other became known as 6. Taking inspiration and even now affiliating with the Jamaican 6 movement, including artists like Squash and Malidon. The 6 took control of certain territories in Trinidad while the 7 took control of others. But like with any gang wars, nobody just sticks to their own territory. And believe me when I say, since the start of the war, the violence has been absolutely relentless. At its worst, this beef between the two gangs has resulted in over 600 murders in one single year in a country with just 1.3 million people. To put this into
They about to finish.
That's
out
a
war.
real war.
perspective, these are literally Jamaica numbers, except with half of the population, and Jamaica is already one of the highest in the world, so you can just imagine. But anyways, the gang members take the lives of the others and laugh about it on their Instagram stories daily. And some of these gang members just so happen to be the one thing that's always present in every ghetto in every country for some reason, and that is of course the musicians. No different from rap, both 6 and 7 have a roster of their respective artists as some of the top ranking members of their group. The known 6 artists include people like the late Rebel 6, whose life was tragically ended years ago, Wakodan, who also had hit songs but was killed, and of course Kman 6ixx, who is one of the most famous men in all of Trinidad. Affiliates also include Byron Messiah and also Jamaican 6 members like Squash. 7 artists on the other hand include hitmakers like Plumpy
That's
Boss,
one that
who
got
after
shot in
one
the
of the
head.
biggest hit songs of his career and affiliating with Skeng for whatever reason, was tragically shot in the head after members of 6 found
Tragically.
him on a fateful day, but ended up surviving and has actually been recovering slowly on social media. And of course, our guy of the year, Medz, who is basically the musical face of the gang gang at this moment. Another person to keep in mind is somebody who is not an artist but is equally well known, and that would have to be Prezi, one of the alleged leaders of the 7 gang, who can be seen celebrating the destruction of his ops in the Just Do It music video, and trust me, he will come up again later, so keep this in mind. Somebody else to also keep in mind is another extremely famous person on the list that you all know, who, to be honest, I'm not really sure where he stands because he seems to have had ties to both sides somehow, but that would have to be one of the most famous Trini artists ever, Prince Swanee. And like I said, I have no clue where he falls in the mix, but even though he used to be very close friends with Medz boss back in the day, he was also directly responsible for giving Byron Messiah a career, and seems to have been associating with people more on that side of things, so I can only assume as a viewer that maybe he falls more on the side of 6 than 7. But regardless of the details, keep this in mind because it will come up again. The artists in these gangs basically dedicate an extremely large portion of their music toward dissing the other, with some of their major hit songs including the name.
Yo, you like the animation?
Come on, let's get
You
through
like that?
this.
Portion of their music
want
towards
to-
dissing the other, with some of their
Yeah.
major hit songs including the names of their dead ops in the literal chorus, and having random Trini girls in parties busting blanks singing people's names. But of course, this does not come without its consequences, and the perfect example of this was one day when Kman 6ixx returned home from performing in
Yo,
Barbados. He was glad to be back in Trinidad, and so he was driving on
that's
the
when they were
highway,
driving.
presumably to go to
And they
his
shot
house,
the
when
car.
suddenly
Yeah,
his
that's
vehicle
about.
was ambushed, and the scene that unfolded looked as if it came straight out of a movie. In the blink of an eye, all 4 of the people Kman was traveling with had their lives hanging in the balance, and once the 7 caught up to their vehicle, they were slowly picked off one by one. But either because of God himself or the best luck in the world, Kman was able to run away and was the sole survivor of the incident. But now that he had just lost the people he cared about, his anger was more than you could imagine, and of course that meant somebody was going to pay. Many months later, in July of 2024, maybe some had forgotten about what happened, but not Kman, and one night everything would change. It was a random summer day, and fellow famous artist Plumpy Boss was doing what artists do in the summer, performing in St. Martin at the Moon Bar rooftop venue. After having the time of his life, it was 4 a.m. and just as Plumpy Boss and his crew were getting ready to go back home, something happened. An unidentified vehicle pulled up on the scene and out of nowhere opened fire. The scene was so diabolical that police say over 50 rounds of ammunition were recovered at the scene. And maybe gangsters from the ghetto don't have the best aim, but that was enough for at least one shot to connect. And sadly, it ended up being in his head. Plumpy was then immediately rushed to the hospital, where he was put into a medically induced coma with the bullet still lodged in his brain. And in a normal situation, people would have to wonder who did this, but in this situation, everybody already knew where to look. And
Didn't
just
he
4
make
weeks
a song
before
called
Plumpy
Headshot?
did that, Kman 6ixx had performed on the exact same stage. Coincidence? Well, nobody was going to buy that. And after each of these incidents, where both Kman and Plumpy, 2 high-profile members of each group, had been attacked, the intensity of the crime reached another insane level, and both sides continued to get revenge body by body, with each day new members being brutally removed from God's earth and being reduced to nothing but an Instagram story caption. But of course, what's better than an Instagram story to celebrate the downfall of your ops? Well, Medz boss would know, and the answer would be making a song. And that was when he decided to take it to the studio and release a diss track called Asylum Boy, which is a diabolical title, and you'll find out why once you hear the lyrics. Because while the track is a direct diss to Kman 6ixx, he starts it off by dissing somebody else.
Oh,
The
that's
track
why I
starts
wanna
off
see
by
beat.
saying, "Load the case from the boat, dog we a saint, them never kill nobody and them gonna foreign. Bust him throat like goat with the cap in a sling. Make the K-bus rapid, I'ma play with the pin." And while you might wonder who he's talking about, this bar is taking a direct shot at Prince Swanee, making reference to the fact that after all of the violence he sung
Didn't
about,
we
he
say-
ended up
did they make a
leaving
song
the
together?
country and moving to the United States. He also makes reference to a song Prince Swanee made called Billy, where he called himself the goat, as in Billy Goat, when he says bust him throat like goat with the cap in a sling, which no disrespect but pause, saying that even though Swanee thinks he's the goat, he will come for him, which he follows up by saying, "Dog, lock off the light, everybody chill, Smarty kill Billy, asks who him ever kill," implying that Swanee is just a talker, and furthers this narrative of him being a straight capper when he says, "Which life them them take, man take off them clothes. Batty boy turn freak. Me no see you start lift up no guns, circle them ends. The only thing you lift up are the statement you give the feds. Me say Bumbleclee. Yeah, you know bad like
Remember we was listening to it, we was trying to figure out.
my daddy, one president, making reference again to Prezi, the leader. He also then goes even harder to diss Swanee by bringing up one of Swanee's biggest hit songs ever, Barbecue Badness, and goes on to say, "Bout barbecue, I musty ketchup and fries. Beg for Asylum and chatting pan IG. You never make a step and you know where to find me." Completely degrading any notion of badness Swanee has, and making reference to the fact that when Swanee went to America, he didn't simply just get a visa and go overseas. He formally asked the US government for asylum, which for those of you who don't know means the protection granted by a state to somebody who is leaving their home country as a refugee, meaning they need to leave because their life is in danger. And Swanee cited his reason for leaving as quote-unquote harassment from police, alleging that the police had been doing things that made him fear for his life, which to be honest, I don't know much about this, so I don't know if that's some kind of cover-up, but the police be moving crazy in Jamaica, so I can only imagine how it is over there. But here is where Medz boss gets even more insane. Bust the AK, we love the Kalish. What the F do Kashif? Turn it on, make it beat. Making reference to the full name of the AK-47, an Avtomat Kalashnikov. You get the point. And contrasting it with the full government name of Kman 6ixx. What the F do Kashif? Turn it on, make it beat. And you already know that once somebody gets called out by name, they are going to reply. And just a few weeks later, a brand new music video was uploaded onto Kman 6ixx's channel for the song called Red Dot. And things were about to get a whole lot more intense. The song starts off with sounds of rapid gunfire when Kayman darkly comes into the intro and says, "Headshot, body bag them. Well, I'm a killer, up you up, me have mad friend. Rifle bun boy skin well of acting. Drive by, hot car, pull up and mash head." And keep in mind, a lot of these lyrics between Medz and Kayman might just sound like random gun bars, but many of them are actually referencing real people and the way that they died. So just keep that in mind. Go for them anyway. We go for the rat them. Got a M16 when them trapping for trap them. A we make boy life dash way. A what do some pussy old actress. Asserting his dominance as the true leading group and comparing whoever he is dissing to not only an actor but a female one at that. And anyway we go for them. Left a rifle grain in a dirty dread. Oh my god. Like, how do you come up with this bar if you've never actually ended somebody before, bro? Like, a rifle grain in a dirty dread? Who thinks of that? What? Dan say, fi just walk down and bust him head. One talk, I'ma raise up the effing hell. But soon after this, he goes into the chorus when he says, "You will get a headshot from a red dot." And this is Medz boss diabolically by saying, "Your friend dead boy, defend that." And all them attack, hell where we send for, that I make with dragon next bat. With bat being a term for somebody's ghost. And saying that no matter how much the other side wants to talk, they are always ready to do the action. The second verse then starts by saying, "Fi we step on them ends broad day, and we not talk loud fi boy chalk out. Sinner just walk down. If all of them not dead, war not done." Saying that he does not have to do a bag of long talking to make a boy chalk out on the ground, and I assume chalk out means the police will draw chalk around his corpse. He also says that if every single member of 7 is not dead, the war will not end. Saying that he has no room for forgiveness in his heart. And as dark and evil as that sounds, he goes on to get even more disrespectful when he says, "Boy bad, I what do shit mount Joseph? Them not evil like we and them know this." Calling Medz boss by his government name as a direct response to when Medz boss called him out. And goes on to get even more disrespectful by bringing another artist into the diss when he says to Medz boss, "Them not evil like we and them know this. Go sing a song for your bedridden homie, referring to Plumpy Boss, who had been in a coma for a very long time since 2024 and is only just recently returning to social media. And every one of them doom get a location, send for a long broom. Can't live for them pussy hole, better make room. I'm a killer them there, ready for let loose. Time for we march and burn them ends. This the done, you gon' face consequence. Hot car pull up and scale the fence. We kill boy are with daily Medz, making a double entendre on Medz boss's name. He then goes on to sing the chorus one more time and the song comes to a close. And of course, the 6ixx fans went absolutely insane in the comments. But while they may have felt that they were about to celebrate victory, it didn't even take a few hours for Medz boss to respond, because he dropped his reply on the same day. And just like that, an absolutely diabolical track called Just Do It was released onto his YouTube channel with an unnatural amount of views for a song that just dropped, which would imply that maybe it was going to be a banger. And so everybody clicked on it wondering what this was going to be. After all, how disrespectful could you really be replying in just a few hours? And so we clicked on the song and this was what we heard.
Prezzy's reprisals were like a creeping lion attacking its prey. You'll never know when he strikes. Kman 6ixx continues to not take accountability for so many deaths by his one diss track alone.
An absolutely diabolical recording of what seems to be some kind of AI news reporter. But to break down what he said, the words were, Prezzy's reprisals were like a creeping lion attacking its prey. You'll never know when he strikes. While showing a man who I'm fairly certain is Prezzy in the music video. Basically saying that every time Prezzy and his gang are to attack and take revenge on the other side, it's like a lion attacking and they'll be dead before they even know what hit them. But then the news reporter goes on to say Kman 6ixx continues to not take accountability for so many deaths by his one diss track alone, making reference to the fact that, like I said, every time a diss track is dropped, bodies also follow. And based on watching some training YouTubers, I've come to understand that notable diss tracks like Black Rain by Kman 6ixx are particularly notorious for this kind of thing, as it was one of his biggest songs. But then the verse starts off by saying, head top plug out dog, never lie, bad little brawling juvenile, turn on the SK with the Ruger 9, shot bite boy head like crocodile, saying that somebody will get their head destroyed, and saying that either he is the bad little brawling juvenile or he will find a bad little brawling juvenile, as in a young nigga, to run up on the ops and do the dirty work for him. He then goes on to start by saying, fully bad, grow bad, me not like joke. Drug I can't see on YouTube, never sober, yeah me like float. Load the clip, done dark up the road, pretty bitch, put me in her throat. Explaining that from where he comes, he does not like the bugger joking thing.
This explanation make the songs that we just listened to way different than how we was just listening to it.
For real.
A fully bad man, and that comes with living the lifestyle of never being sober, loading clips and putting your D in, well, you know, yeah. Shoot up them bass, make the place hot, making reference to the image he showed at the start of the video with what I think is one of 6ix's territories burning down. Cause when me pull up, we no wear black, we got guns like nukes full of bass strap, full clipping at your forehead, shot eardrop. And then goes on to make a funny double entendre when he says, just do it like Nike, we no wear cap, saying that he does not participate in capping in any way and the only clothing brand he supports is Nike, cause him na dep on the capping thing. Left two shot in your eye like his teardrops. But then goes on to get into the most disrespectful and utterly insane part of the song when he says, real bad juvenile, win a fair cops, check his scoreboard, now it full of dead ops. And
That's
when
what I
he
was
says
saying.
this, he shows in the music
literally said
video
that in
a
the
clip
video.
of him standing while 4 gravestones rise out of the ground with names on them. And when
Damn,
you
I
read
didn't
the
even remember
names,
seeing
it
this.
says one grave,
I don't even
Wacko,
remember
making
that.
reference to the
I remember
deceased 6 artists we spoke about earlier in the video, Wacko Don. The next one is West Bank, a very well-known member of 6ixx who I've heard Squash, Malidon, and Chronicler sing about multiple times, and I'm pretty sure was the owner of the record label West Bank Records. And the last grave in the background says Jerry. Now I'm not sure who Jerry is, but maybe if you're from Trinidad you know. As he continues to dance on their deaths and literally put an image of him with a Grim Reaper scythe, he then follows up by saying, take a flight, go Dubai, kill a spam boat. Dark, me no see the light up in my zone. Dance when you see the light, dopey like dope. If your gal, break your heart, dog, wicked and cold. Now, to be honest, I'm not really sure why he's talking about girls in the middle of a diss song. Maybe he's referring to a specific member of 6ixx whose girl he slept with. Knowing how these things go, that is actually very possible. But he also goes on to say, rich badness, but we have a dark soul. No pussy test, we make them look up in a chrome. Sick man sick, I'm a nav, no cold. Papa pill, killer's gone in a dark mood. Referring to himself as completely sick and deranged in the head, and him not talk about the common flu. And then goes back to dissing ups in the second verse when he says, couple million drops pan the bank fall. Waste the bank, wasted, so we know him would have fall. Father God. When you feel say a Jamaican alone make up disrespectful name for people? Waste Bank is crazy. And then goes on to big up his own leader, Prezi, again by saying, one president be done in the call. Win a big friend call money a we goal. He proceeds to sing the chorus once more, and then the song comes to a close. And bro, when I say, as much as I like the song, I did not expect it to become this. Day by day, the song just kept on racking up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views, with people showing an unnatural amount of love. I mean, the top comment literally says, song get beat out like my ex, and reached literally millions of views in just the span of a couple weeks. Again, keep in mind, Trinidad only has 1.3 million people, which meant this had gone completely international. People who had no understanding of the beef, the culture, or what any of this meant just heard this as a banger and were just vibing. And that only continued to grow, because if you walk around Jamaica, I promise you, you will hear this song playing. You go to the UK, certain states of America, and this song, literally, I'm pretty sure is the biggest Trinidad song. I don't think anything else can compare to this. In just 3 months, it surpassed literally everything else and went on to accumulate 14 million. A feat that most hit dancehall songs don't even do. I mean, bro, 3 months is insane. That's like, bro, not even Vybz Kartel when he just came out of prison was doing that. And to be honest, I am very curious what this does for Kartel when he...
Why?
He wanted to speed it up.
Just came out of prison was doing that. And to be honest, I am very curious what this does for Trinidad's culture and their music going forward. Regardless of what side each artist is on, they are a part of the same industry. And so when it comes to the music, when one of them wins, it introduces a lot of fans to all of the others. Just like you guys watching this video right now, I'm sure many of you had no idea about this, and now you're gonna go check them out. I don't think I need to say this because I'm sure my fans are not completely brainless, but obviously I do not support the violence, nor do I have any affiliation to either side. And I really do hope that Trinidad can heal, because I'm sure many innocent people have been caught in the crossfire. But like I said, while we're keeping it strictly to the music, I am very interested to see what this does for their industry. But speaking of 6 and 7 artists, Squash was actually recently sentenced to prison by the FBI themselves. And if you want to know how a Jamaican artist ended up in the hands of the literal FBI, but also managed to evade majority...
Who you mess with, 6 or 7?
I just vibe to the music. I got shit to do with they beef.
What you mean?
Ain't no 6, 7 going on.
Whose songs was better, Medz or Kman 6ixx?
They both hard. I ain't gonna lie. The funny thing is, this was one of my bop. The ones that I like was the ones that were going against each other.
Just do it, right?
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm over here bopping to two people lose ops. Like, that's fucked up. They probably looking at us like, she don't know what side she want to be on. I had no clue. Y'all was beefing. I thought y'all was probably making... Y'all seen the video.
Y'all motherfuckers to subscribe to Foreign TVO. Don't give a fuck. Better subscribe, motherfucker. If not, security gonna get your ass. Pup, pup.